Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Dakota, the place where we dive deep into the corporate world. Today we're cracking open a filing from TNF Pharmaceuticals, and let me tell you, it's got more twist than a daytime soap opera because, let's be honest, who doesn't love a little drama in their stock portfolio? Get ready for reverse splits, share increases, and preferred stock proposals. Before we get started, if you like getting straight insights from these corporate filings, make sure you are subscribed and also that you join our Discord community. The link is in the description below. So what's this report about? Well, TNF wants to do some financial reshuffling. They're asking shareholders for permission to do a reverse stock split, increase the number of shares they can issue, and mess around with the value of some special preferred stock. Let's get into the details, shall we? First things first, this isn't just any filing, it's a Schedule 14A, a proxy statement. It's basically TNF Pharmaceuticals asking its shareholders to vote on some important changes at their upcoming annual meeting. This particular filing is an update because TNF decided to add a new proposal about preferred stock after the original proxy statement was already filed. Why this new filing? Well, after sending out the first proxy statement, the company decided, wait, there's more. They want to add a proposal to authorize their board to increase the stated value of Series F and F1 convertible preferred stock. That's a mouthful, but basically it's about changing the worth of some special shares they've issued. Also, they changed their bylaws to make it easier to pass proposals, which is great for TNF. Now, let's get to what this company actually wants to do, and that's where we scroll to the notice of the annual meeting of stockholders. Basically, TNF is asking its shareholders to vote on 6 things. First, they want to elect 6 directors to the board. Second, they want to get approval for their choice of Stefano Slack LLC as their accounting firm. Then, things get interesting with some financial mechanics. They want to do a reverse stock split, which means taking a bunch of existing shares and turning them into fewer shares. Think of it like exchanging a pile of singles for a few $20 bills. It does nothing to change the value, but the amount of paper is less. They're aiming for a split ratio between 1:100 that they also want to increase the number of shares they're authorized to issue from 250 million to a whopping 1.25 billion. And here's the kicker, the preferred stock proposal, which gives the board the power to increase the value of those Series F and F1 preferred shares. Finally, because they might not get enough votes for all this, they want the ability to adjourn the meeting and try again later. Now, why all this? Well, the board thinks these changes are necessary. They recommend voting for everything. But why are they pushing these proposals? That's what we will find out as we go through the document. First, let's talk about who they want on the board. We have Mitchell Glass, Christopher Schreiber, Joshua Silverman, Jude Juzonwan, Bill White, and Stephen Frischier. Looking at their backgrounds, it's a mix of experience in pharmaceuticals, finance, and investments. Mitchell Glass, for example, has a long history in the pharmaceutical industry with executive roles at several companies. Christopher Schreiber brings experience in capital markets. Joshua Silverman has an investment background. This board looks to be well-rounded. Now let's check to see who actually is independent from the board. Turns out Dr. Glass, Mr. Silverman, Mr. White, Dr. Eagle, Mr. Yuzonwan, and Mr. Fisher are considered independent directors. That's important because it shows they don't have any major conflicts of interest. Moving on to corporate governance, these guys have several committees, including the Audit Committee, Compensation Committee, and a Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee. The Audit Committee is responsible for financial oversight. The Compensation Committee does what it sounds like, setting pay for executives. The Nominating and Corporate Governance Committee finds people to nominate as directors. Now comes a section that's always juicy, who owns the company. Let's check out the 5% beneficial owners table. Richard Abbey, through Iroquois Capital Investment Group, owns about 5%. Premise Biotech PVT holds a huge chunk of Series D preferred stock, and Intracoastal Capital LLC also has nearly 5%. Pharmacide Biotech Inc. holds most of the Series G preferred stock, and as a result hold 26.3% of the voting power in the company. That said, it's worth noting that most of the directors and executive officers as a group don't hold a significant percentage of the stock. The stock director pay, Josh Silverman pulled in $287,000, while directors Eagle and Yuzonwan took home $92,000. Christopher Schreiber, who's got an employment agreement with the company, made $244,800 $4,800. There were some reductions in pay to the directors that were implemented November of 2023 to decrease financial burden on the company. Alright, let's dive into the executive compensation table. In 2024, Mitchell Glass as President and Chief Medical Officer made $175,833. Ian Rhodes, the interim CFO, got $161. Former President Chris Chapman made a solid $425 that year, but he had $154 in lost stock, while former Chief Scientific Officer Adam Kaplan made a measly $70.85 fines that year, but he had a $51,040. That's money. The current execs are making compared to the former ones. Now, this is where things get interesting. We are going to review the SEC require pay versus performance analysis. In 2024, the PO's total compensation was $175,833, and the company had a net loss of over $27 million. This company uses stock to reward their execs, which is fine if they can execute. Let's look at equity compensation. Basically, they have a 2021 equity incentive plan where they can give stock options, restricted stock, and other goodies to employees and directors. They want this so they can stay competitive in attracting talent. Now, let's talk about the accounting firm situation. Morrison Cogen used to be their auditor, but they resigned. Apparently, they're getting out of the business of auditing public companies. Now, it's Stefano Slack LLC handling the books. Audit fees are always interesting. In 2024, Morrison Cogen billed them for $88 and $158, and Stefano Slack charged $42,000, and Stefano Slack charged $42,071. And while in 2023, Morrison Cogen billed them $15 and $492. The reverse stock split is the company requesting to combine each share between the range of 2 to 100 into one share. If approved, this will allow the company to remain on the Nasdaq exchange. Share increase proposal. Our board has approved an amendment to our charter to increase the number of authorized shares of common stock from 250,000 to 1,250,000. Preferred stock proposal, they are requesting to the board to increase the stated value of each of the Series F convertible preferred stock and Series F1 convertible preferred stock and Series F1 convertible preferred stock from $1,000 per share to an amount to be determined from time to time by the board in its discretion, up to a maximum of $1,000 by the board in its discretion. Up to a maximum of $1,000 per share to an amount to be determined from time to time by the board in its discretion. Up to a maximum of $1,000 per share to an amount to be determined from time to time by the board in its discretion. Up to a maximum of $1,250 per share. So what do we make of all this? It looks like a company trying to pull itself up by its bootstraps. They're restructuring, trying to stay listed, and hoping to attract more investors. It's a high wire act, no doubt. Looking at TNF Pharmaceuticals' direction, I see a company with potential but also considerable risk. On the one hand, the board has the required qualifications in a variety of business sectors. On the other hand, the company is still operating at a loss and is dependent on making financial adjustments. With more information in a better financial climate, this would be a strong company. With more growth opportunity in its current environment, the execution of the board must be flawless to maintain their current business trajectory. Alright, that's our breakdown of TNF Pharmaceuticals' latest proxy statement. What's your take on these proposals and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. And don't forget to check out the Discord in the description for even more discussions on corporate filings and market insights. Thanks for watching. See you next time.